This episode was recorded live at the National UDT-SEAL Museum at Fort Pierce, Florida.
Now, man, that bottle's my kryptonite, brings a man still down to his knees.
All right, we're honored today to have Randy Morgan, also known as Captain Morgan. He served with SEAL Teams 1, 3, and 5. And for those out there in the audience don't understand that, that's a lot of SEAL time. That's a lot of team time. This man has got a lot of experience. He's also on the board of the SEAL Family Foundation, which is all very important. A lot of our focus is about vets and about giving back and what does that driving. And he's graduated of class 134. And today in the area, we're having a class reunion, but I'm hearing that class 109 was the last hard class. From Rick Kaiser, of course, he wanted me to bring it out to everyone that class 109 was the last hard class.
Well, Marty was one of our instructors, and he can attest that our Hell Week was so tough, we had 3 instructors quit.
Oh, I like that. See, I'm going to use that. I like that one. I'm going to use that one in the future. This selection was so tough that 3 of the instructors quit. They got more tired than we did. Anyway, we're going to have we thank you for, first of all, I know you hear it all the time, and people tell me thank you for my service. I thank you for your service. But most of the time, we want to tell them we wouldn't change a thing. We had a blast, and we changed some things along the way, but it was great to serve, and the more importantly, the brotherhood that's founded and starts up and continues through the rest of our life.
And those that tell me, say thank you, and I come back to them and say thank you for supporting us, and supporting this great country. The museum would not be here if it wasn't for these great patriots out there, donors all across. The Family Foundation would not be there. People have pulled; they did not have the chance to serve. For many factors, but they said, "How can I help?" And that's what's making our nation great.
Well, it's an echoing theme today. It's interesting as I go through some of your colleagues and former colleagues. We talk about it. It's resounding the community and the tribe, the camaraderie, and the idea to give back. And then there are those who maybe weren't a SEAL or weren't in Special Forces, but they're patriots, and they know what you've done. They know what the various SEAL foundations do and for our veterans, and they want to be a part of it. And I think that's very important. And that's part of what we're doing, obviously, on this podcast, is reaching out to a different audience, a public venue, to let them know kind of like what we've done, what you've done in your service, and also what you're continuing to do. Because obviously, the focus on you giving back. Remember, it's funny, and it's not funny, but it's poignant because in my job, a former senior CIA officer, and the families often suffer. I mean, we go out, we do our thing, leave our families. And I find you're on the Family Foundation because the families suffer in silence. And there are problems going on there. You don't know what's going on. You're downrange.
Right.
You're trying to keep you and your buddies alive. You come back, and little do you know that your wife and your children, they've been going through hell. But a different sort of hell. And so, I thank you for, obviously, that's a big focus. So I want to talk a little bit about what you guys are doing on the Family Foundation.
Well, the Family Foundation is very small, and it's a great bunch of donors. And it's interesting what taught me to the Family Foundation, and I'm really the military guy on the board. The Family Foundation only responds. They work with the commanders of the SEAL community, the NSW, and say, where do you have a need? Now, the history is I came in the Navy, went to SEAL training in 85. And our first largest deployment of military forces and naval amphibious forces and SEAL forces was Desert Storm.
Oh.
Huge. And we deployed, and we found out that attitude in the military back then was, and I can remember a chief coming up and one young guy saying, well, geez, my wife is having, he says, there was no wife in your sea bag when you were in the Navy. You were then issued a wife. And that was an afterthought. So, and that was kind of our culture. I would say across all the military.
Yeah.
And we found out that we started doing things for families. Desert Storm, the guys that stayed back, and it was funny, down at Bud's compound, we decided to have a SEAL pup. Anyone that was deployed and their kids were missing their dad and everything like that, we'd have a camp out for them. And it was a mess because it was just the whites would go out wine drinking, they just drop their kids off. And now we let them shoot guns, we went them over the beach, we have them all camp out all night.
A different idea of babysitting.
We took them to the chow hall for dinner, we'll come on boat rides and things like that. And that became kind of a tradition, but that was out of pocket. And then my shift, I came commanding officer of SEAL Team 5 in 1998. And one of my tenets of my vision was saying the family is part of us. And we're going to have a family night. And, if you're going to have the family come over, you're going to bring some counselors, talk about the deployment, pre-deployment. I would tell them exactly where their husband's going. And I'd say, I have trust with that.
Yeah.
And I'd say, it was no more of this. I'm deploying for 6 months. I can't talk to you anymore, right? That was kind of our attitude. Yeah. And I said, we're going to keep open comms. And as you know, when a military member deploys, the first thing that happens is the water heater breaks. The kid gets, your dog goes out and bites the neighbor. And then the kid gets thrown out of school for acting up. And we had one young girl come up. I had a strong ombudsman and our water heater break. I told Master Chief Chamberlain, I said, get a team out there. We got guys who can replace a water heater. Go to Home Depot and replace it. And we found out if I had to have a thing, I'd pass the hat. I'd tell the officers, guess what? You're all giving me $50 so I can buy the wine and cheese and pay for a guest speaker and things like that. That void now is filled by the Family Foundation. Things your appropriated dollars can't pay for. Santa in an outfit. Right? Dressing up for Halloween candy for the kids at your Christmas party. And it's kind of a soft thing. They do a lot of resilient programs. It's run by Cindy Axelson. She's a Gold Star spouse of Matt Axelson that was killed in a maybe lone survivor. So I love the Family Foundation, but I think it was more of what, I learned there was a gap in how we operated as a force, and we're a great force. We're great leaders in our force, and we transformed. And now it's just as important. We're there at the graduation dinners when a SEAL graduates. The night before, we endear the family, including the grandparents, the parents, and says, "You are now part of the family." The wife gets a pin. She says, "You are now part of the sisterhood." And there are people there for that. And it's a very touching thing. It's kind of soft, but it's touching. And I also speak at it's kind of fun. I like to go to the Hell Week breakfasts, and we bring the families. The week after Hell Week, they host a breakfast for these guys. And
really?
It was one donor said, "I'm going to infinitum do Hell Week breakfast for the rest of life." And
I'm impressed you guys are getting a little touchy-feely these days.
It's touchy-feely.
I'm impressed.
It's not hardcore programs like some great foundations. SEAL Foundation out there, multi-million dollars of scholarships. Soft Warrior Foundation taking care of tuition for kids. SEAL Future Foundation, if you're a no man left behind, if you're in need, they all have their needs. And the good thing is they're all working together and keeping their lanes.
Well, it's funny. We're touching on something that was kind of ignored and you said it, used to, before you leave, you disappear. Like there was no SATCOMs, there were no phone calls home, there was nothing. You leave and you're exactly right. The commanders at home are stuck with whatever problem there is, you're stuck with it. And you can't leave them struggling on their own. But it's interesting. I mean, I love that concept of bringing the families in, saying you're now part of the team. Hell Week, yeah, they've been through Hell Week. So,
well, you learn lessons. My first platoon commander at Team 3, and we actually some interesting things. We had the CO was Gary Stubblefield, and he had some agency background and really kind of pushed the edge of what are we going to fight next. We were in a peacetime war, doing a lot of FID missions, bilaterals, and it was interesting. And we had kind of a recall platoon in case there was a quick reaction force or something, things like that. And we had beepers. Right?
Yeah, back in the day, you would have had a beeper.
And I came back the first time, and SEALs have their personalities. And that's what you got to love about them. And I came back the first time, a young platoon, my first platoon, a platoon commander got fired, and I just took over. And because I just actually graduated from BUD/S. And they said, "You're Lieutenant, you're a surface warfare officer. Here's your trident. Now you're the platoon commander." I said, "You got it. I can do that." And we came back to doing a lot of training and things like that. I finally had I said, to me, let's have a party. for the family, a potluck, but the kids come over, jump in the backyard. I thought I was crazy. And the wife came up to me and she says, man, and they met Lieutenant Morgan. I said, I hate you. And she said, every time you guys come back from training on Friday, my husband's beeper goes off and he's gone for the weekend. You guys, can you stop that weekend training? Lo and behold, these guys were they'd call the beeper number and they'd all go to Mexico surfing for the weekend. And the wives would go to Vegas. I'm like, come on.
And
guys.
you're the bad guy.
And I'm the bad guy.
And you're the bad guy.
I was recalling it.
We know the beeper trick. We know the beeper trick where a guy says, listen, I'm going to shit show tonight. You guys got to hit my beeper and get me out of there. And then beeper cover story. We call it the beeper cover story.
That's right. And I was a victim of it. So.
I like that. I like hearing it from the other end.
Yeah.
You're the commander, and you're like, what? And all the wives are looking at you like you're the devil. I like that. But I like the SALT approach. It's so interesting because obviously we do have formal foundations. Warriors Haven, that's where we're involved in at the Hat.
Great
obviously.
organization.
And we're helping obviously transition veterans into a hard skill set and teach them skills.
I read about it, and that's fantastic. It's right on my lane. I do work a lot with some of them on transition. I helped out where the Family Foundation funded the Honor Foundation as a startup,
right.
And that's doing some great things across all special operations.
Yeah,
and they're a great organization. I have my own opinions on transition, and I do a little bit of work. I have a degree in industrial psychology, and
we better not talk very long.
How to transition into the military, the workforce, and there's a lot of work to be done there.
And obviously, there's probably more. We're not filling that need. It's funny, in recent years, veterans organizations like obviously the museum, Navy SEAL Foundation, some other, Green Berets, the special ops community, others have focused on their giving back their teams. And it's probably not enough, but there's a general awareness that we had young men at war for 20 years.
Right.
And look, when I came up, we had some incidents along the way. You hit it and go, and you go back home.
Right.
But we were rotating warriors in, young men and women, for 20 years. Iraq, Afghanistan, gone, in, out. And that takes a toll.
Right.
That takes a toll. You don't just have one bad firefight. You got a lot of images rolling around. And so now I'm happy to see, and although it's probably not enough, is that organizations such as SEALs, Special Ops community, are trying to figure out ways to, okay, we know we have a problem, let's address it. Let's fix it.
And the combat arms guys, the SEALs, and I relate it. I think it goes with Marine Corps infantry.
Yes.
It goes with Army infantry. You're a firefighter. You've got the brotherhood, the camaraderie.
That's right.
I don't go anywhere. And my left and right, my two buddies, I don't have to worry about me being ready because they take care of me and I take care of them.
Yeah.
And then now they transition. And first of all, the Navy, and I think a lot of the service is done. I mean, if you were a CB, commercial driver's license things, they've worked with Department of Labor, you can go work there. You're a Navy firefighter, you work the Fed Fire program, you can go into the fire. There you have skill sets that transferred in, whether that's what you want to do. Now, I'm a combat arms guy, and
LEO,
do I continue,
law enforcement,
do I continue to do that, or what do I do? And again, there's a lot of things, what color's my parachute and all that stuff. But I mean, I personally think that they're looking for responsibility, and a lot of them are, what's my next career? And if their motivation is saying, hey, I have a great retirement, I talked to them, I said, hey, you can get a job doing your skill set, supporting the active duty SEALs with contractor force as an instructor, arms support, range support. Nice little San Diego. I can tell you the job range because my company hired 72 vets last year, and you're going to make somewhere between 80 and 110,000. And
plus your retirement.
Yeah, and you're going to work 40 hours a week. And my advice to them, and some take it to heart, I said, how many hours a week did you work when you were an active duty SEAL or you were a training element? It's in the 80s, 90s.
Yes, absolutely.
And if I accrue it on a deployment, it's even more than that. I said, one of the best, she was a first-class diver. She was maintaining diving rigs at the SEAL teams in East Coast. And she knew all about all of maintenance and all that, systems, because it is a combat system, very complex. Diver life support systems, you need to have great people in there. And I said, oh, get a side gig, whether you're going to school, getting a real estate license. And she said, you know what? I have a craftsman thing. And she said, we're standing up a business and we invested into the engraving machine and online sales. And if you're a Navy diver or an Army diver, you get your engraved mug, engraved anything from her. They make it right in their garage about 10 hours a week and ship them out. And it's a lucrative business.
And people love it.
And she found that's it. I said, but find something else, whether it's working for a nonprofit, things like that. So,
but what are you doing now, these days? Obviously, you're focused on the family foundation, all this. On the business side, is it anything? Is it totally separate, or is it?
Two things. On the business side, I was active duty for 28 years, retired as a captain, pretty good, and then I worked as a government civilian. As we started improving our security postures at the base, training our security forces, our Fed Fire and things like that, they weren't very standard, and it was a white piece of paper. And unlike in the Army, the Provost Marshal is pretty good, Air Force security is pretty good, Navy security. Remember, Navy security used to be provided by the Marine Corps. Sure. I mean, we'd ask them, how many Marines are there? And they say, well, how many gates does the Navy have?
Yeah, that's right.
But so we put a lot of work, and I did that, professionalizing that. Individual level training, unit level training, integrated training is all the same.
Right.
It's just you phase it out and what's the requirements and things like that. So that was very rewarding. That said, that got me up to speed on government contracting. So
which is a big deal.
I started working
people don't understand that.
2 companies, service-disabled vet-owned companies, and a part owner, but more of a consultant role in a couple of them, and saying, you want to get into that business. And they're putting set-asides. And I help them navigate how to do a bid. It's the business capture and go after and get yourself in front of the customer and have a successful win and grow your business. I do that sideline. I try to get away from that. Currently, it's kind of the Navy SEAL thing.
Yeah.
I talk to these Navy SEALs transitioning, and you'll notice I have a shirt with a trident on it. A lot of guys say, we are quiet professionals. I'm not the guy with the trident on my truck and things like that. And even if I went on a vacation for 2 weeks, you'd have to kind of pull it out of me that my career was in the Navy SEAL.
Right.
I don't lie, but I tell the guys, you're out there networking and you're going to a convention or things like that. I said, put the trident on, and your lapel. SF pin on your lapel. They're going to say, we know you've done something special.
And also your other brotherhoods. There'll be guys who will be advertising.
The networks. And there's nothing wrong with some people will call it pimping a trident. Now, there are some people that I had a friend got out and he says he set up Trident Roofing Company. And I said, the last person I would go at my house re-roofed is from a goddamn Navy SEAL. I'm going to find a guy's going to roof.
I want somebody who does roofing. Not blowing the roof in.
Exactly. So some of them do that. That's okay. But what I say to them, that gets you there. Very interesting. My current endeavor is partial owner of, we're working on, it's a national security initiative, aluminum, copper, and we're talking a rare earth aluminum 380, make die-cast aluminum engines and things like that. We are 90% reliant on China right now.
Yes.
Recycling and building them. So I have a $20 million aluminum recycling plant in Ardmore, Oklahoma.
Starting at home, doing it here.
I live in San Diego.
Yeah, but I mean here in America.
Dallas is the headquarters. We buy American scrap. We don't send it over to China, and then China sells it back to us way more expensive than the increase. We're trying to put it's called being a disruptor in the market.
Right.
And the reason I bring that up, I was meeting a guy, helping him penetrate some business with the Navy, Department of Defense. I can do that because of my senior officer. And he says, you have a trident on. Do you know anything about aluminum? I said, I can figure it out. He says, that's what it was. He says, you're a Navy SEAL. You can figure out anything. And that was a lot of people's attitude. And it opened the door.
Well, I mean, again, the special ops community is known for
all across special ops.
Just say, identify the problem, figure out a solution. But I find it interesting that you said aluminum and obviously the whole Chinese and national security aspect to it, because I don't have to tell you, we're talking about that right now. America doesn't make anything anymore. It's a problem.
Right.
The Chinese are way ahead of us on this, and we need to bring it back.
It's a national security issue.
And that's good, especially the pressure.
And aluminum, my car every car has about 800 pounds of aluminum, die-cast aluminum.
Yeah.
Your engine, block, transmissions, and things like that. We make 300,000 a year. We scrap 300,000. We get the aluminum for 300,000 by sending the scrap to China and bringing it back.
And then they charge us back. Double back.
And they get
and we all know this is not political, but we can all pretty much agree China's the problem. They're the next big one. I mean, they're the problem.
And China's here. I mean, if really the national security strategy, I think we have it right. China's here for the long run.
Yeah.
That's you might predict. I tell you, one day you're going to wake up, you're going to look on your app on your phone, and you can't get into it. And your bank account be zero. You can't talk on the internet, and it's the thing. It's going to be that.
Yeah, well, it's interesting already. You'll see outages here, spot outages around the states, and I always tell people, listen to me. That's a dry run because the day it goes kinetic, a lot of things are not going to work.
Oh, and you got to commend our administration, our leadership, and nonpartisan, the investment in cybercom, things like that. I mean, and we have some great warriors. It's a different battle space. We have a retired SEAL, Eric Basu, is one of the best experts in the area. I mean, a wonderful guy.
Yeah, but I agree. We definitely have to get ahead of this because you and I both know the day it happens is too late.
Yeah.
And I do fully agree. China, they're looking at long run.
Well, I went up to, my daughter almost went to UCLA.
Uh-oh.
Have you ever been to UCLA?
Uh-oh.
UCLA is 50, it's a great school, but there is a lot of Chinese students.
Well,
and the money that goes in there from China, influencing that is unbelievable.
Well, there was a Chinese defector. There was the same Russian philosophy. They're a Chinese defector, and basically it called out the 5 chapters of destroying America. Mm-hmm. 5 chapters of destroying America. And he's interviewed. He defected, and he talks about infiltrate the universities, have a lack of faith in the family unit and the church and the institutions. America will only be destroyed from within.
Right.
And he talked about the different phases. Flood the universities, flood the mindsets, cast doubt on nationalism, cast doubt on authority. And then the 5th chapter, of course, that's when they make the overt action to take over. And he goes, and all these useless people who signed up for this crap, then we get rid of them.
I gotta read up on that. That's impressive.
Yeah, they talk about the 5 phases.
It's ongoing right now.
Yeah, it's ongoing. It's been ongoing, and because if you look at our universities, the same thing. Like what? And by the way, the FBI doesn't quietly announce it. Back when I was in, they basically told me, my colleagues in New York, they stopped following the China. There's too many. They can't. We're flooded. But it's exactly right. They thought of their strategy probably 40 years ago. The Russians kind of had it, but the Chinese kind of perfected it. And they have the numbers and they have the resources. And they said, this is what we're going to do. And you see it in our universities. You see it. And again, at the same time, talk about influence. I don't know about quickly. Back in the day, you go to a country, a CIA operation, and you recruit one journalist, right, to write nasty shit about the Russians or the president, right? And you pay him a little money on the side. These days, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Yeah, I mean,
speed of light.
That on like multi steroids, and we all know. I can say, Randy, I'm going to get a bunch of things named Randy on here in the next day. Buy Randy's shirts, buy Randy's this, Randy's burgers. I mean, you'll have because this phone will pick up, and next thing you know, the algorithms are throwing it at me.
Well, I have a 22-year-old daughter, and I, hang out and I screen all her boyfriends. I ask them what their favorite.
Would you do that?
And I ask them what their favorite number is. Is it 556 or 762?
Yeah.
But anyway, they are controlled by that.
Yeah.
And it whether it be and I said nothing in there is true.
And what happens is whatever they like,
we're pointing at a phone.
Yeah, it reinforces it. If I like this political bent, I'm going to get inundated, and there's nothing else coming at me.
Unbelievable.
And that's the ultimate influence operation.
Right.
The ultimate influence operation. And so again, I'm glad to hear. Obviously, you're focused on that. You see Chinese as the opponent. In my
That's
mind,
part of it right now. It really drew me to that when all of a sudden he says, "This is about national security. This is just not like melting scrap and producing sows of aluminum.
Yeah.
This is a problem."
I
And
know.
in fact, I have some of the consultants I worked with before, that really up in the IDF and things like that. We're actually thinking of building a plant in Gaza. It takes all their mixed metal, anything like that.
Oh, there's going to be a lot of scrap.
Yeah,
No pun
that's what
intended.
they said.
No, I'm not making humor, but there'll be a
They
lot
said
of
we
scrap.
can it'll turn it back into usable
Yeah.
metals with the right chemistry. is what
Yeah,
we need.
it's interesting because the Chinese, I'll tell you, you used to wonder, what are Chinese doing in Africa? They're all over Africa, all looking at the precious minerals, all the sensitive minerals for national security. They're all out Africa. They're all over Latin and South America, and they got no problem coming in with a bag of cash saying, "Hey, let's do business."
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, it's interesting. The next challenge we'll face, hopefully, it won't be in our lifetime. But I have a daughter too. She's a new lawyer, and our daughters, I got a feeling they're going to be having to face this challenge or have people around them, their generation that does.
Yeah. So in fact, next Wednesday I'm having a panel at DC on national security and precious metals. I'm like, why am I qualified for that?
But we got to go get them.
Got to go.
And we gave them away. We gave them away in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
We gave them away in several places. We just gave them away. But hopefully we rethink that.
But my number one, I'm out in Coronado now, stay connected with the SEAL teams.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of brought me here today. I have 134 out of 22 that graduated.
Oh.
We have 14 of us out here. And I would not say we're the model of all classes. I was just talking to a young guy, and he says 99. He doesn't remember any of the guys he graduated with and things like that. I do think I was the class leader. I think as the class leader, you have a covenant leadership to reach back and say, "How are you doing?"
Yeah.
We spread blood, sweat, tears, laughs, and beers at SEAL training, led by some great individuals. The people that shape our community, and they're called MUDS instructors. Yeah. And that's where all these lessons that I've learned and put in place, taking care of the family, making sure that when you stand up a unit, find out your center of gravity. And the center of gravity for our operational forces, I say the SEAL teams because that's all I was at, is our senior enlisted. When I say senior enlisted, first class party officer up to the master chiefs. And they make it happen. And
Captain Morgan, thank you. Thank you for today. Thank you for your smile. Thank you for what you're doing. And I hope to see you again, sir.
All right.
Thank you.